A few years ago, I worked as a bank teller at a small regional bank. It was a fast-paced, sometimes hectic job, but it was always interesting. The branch was always buzzing with customers, whether they were making deposits, withdrawing money, or cashing checks. There were about 15 of us working there, and we were constantly on the move, juggling multiple tasks at once. By the time I'd been working there for a few years, I wasn't exactly new to the job anymore. But let me tell you, being a teller requires laser focus, precision, and speed, sometimes all at the same time. Every morning I would pull my cash drawer from the vault, and at the end of the day, I had to balance that drawer down to the penny. Accuracy was crucial, not just for the sake of the customers, but for my own peace of mind, and let's be honest, for keeping my job. One mistake could throw everything off, and you couldn't afford to make too many of those. Now let me tell you about a day that left me and everyone else completely baffled. One afternoon, a customer came up with 3 checks, totaling $220. Standard stuff, right? Like I was trained, I ran the numbers through the calculator, not once but twice, just to double-check everything. It was second nature. The checks were for $125, $45, and $50. I quickly typed in the amounts and ran them through the calculator, $125, $45, and $50. First time, no problem. Second time, I checked again. But when I looked at the tape, something didn't add up. You can see the tape right here, since I kept it all these years and took a photo to share in this video. Take a look. Somehow I had typed $121 instead of $125, but the calculator still gave me the correct total of $220. It didn't make any sense. I showed the customer the tape and he couldn't believe it either. Neither could my co-workers when I showed them. Now, this was a pretty strange situation, so I decided to keep the tape just to document it. You know, sometimes things happen that are too weird to ignore. And this was one of those times. But here's where it gets even weirder. A few days later, I had another customer with 2 checks totaling $3,235. One check was for $1,235, and the other was for $2,000. I typed in the numbers, $1,235 and $2,000, but when I checked the tape, I noticed something familiar. I had typed $1,230 instead of $1,235. You can see the tape right here. Take a close look. Despite my mistake, the total came out perfectly again, $3,235. I couldn't believe it. At this point, I was starting to wonder if I was missing something, or if something was going on that I couldn't explain. So I also kept that tape because after the first time I was thinking, okay, this is too weird to just let go. My co-workers were starting to get a little spooked, and the customer, who had written down the numbers, looked at the tape, laughed and said he was going to play the lottery with those figures. We all had a good chuckle, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something strange was going on. So here we are. What do you think? How could this happen twice with 2 completely different customers and 2 different sets of checks? And why did the calculator still give the correct totals, even after I made mistakes in typing the amounts? I've kept both tapes, and they're as mysterious now as they were back then. Back then, money was tight, and I really needed that job. I remember thinking, maybe this is God's way of letting me know that He's got my back, that I don't need to worry about losing my job, and that I could relax and trust in Him, and everything would turn out okay. And that's exactly what happened. I worked at that bank for another 10 years after that, and never made any big mistakes during my time there as a teller. I got many promotions and eventually moved out of that department altogether, but I never forgot those 2 instances where something magical and beyond words or understanding happened. Many people might look at these events as flukes or coincidences, but not me. I do not believe in coincidences. I don't really understand these things, nor can I explain them fully. But I do get a sense that we are all constantly being watched over and protected, and that we really have nothing to fear. Just trust in God, do your best, and the rest will take care of itself. At least that's what I believe and live by. Take another look at the tapes as you watch this and let me know what you think. How do you explain something like this? Because I sure can't.